now me and Parker will be going over who we think is going to be the 2021 NFL MVP. And while you might have an idea of who you think it is, I think I'm willing to bet that we have players that you have not really considered. Maybe not completely considered. I think it's not completely out of the question. But we definitely have some interesting answers.
Yours is a little bit out there. Yeah.
Mine is definitely out there.
Doesn't mean I don't like it.
Yeah. So with that, do you want to go first? Should I go first? What do you want to do?
I want to hear your rationale first because
Okay.
I want to destroy it after.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
I'm just kidding.
No. You can say it. It's
No,
you're right.
I genuinely am. I genuinely like this pick. Go ahead.
It's out there. I'll completely admit that. So the reason. So I'm not gonna tell you guys who it is just yet. Basically, I'm basically gonna talk about my thought process. So we all know, anyone who follows the NFL knows that the NFL MVP award is strictly almost 99% of the time given to a quarterback, and that's fair. The quarterback has an extreme impact on whether or not your team wins a game, and that's fair. I'm not even questioning that, but who makes these quarterbacks though, Parker? Who on the team allows these quarterbacks to have the stats that they do, the touchdowns that they do, and all the praise that they do? It's the receivers. Not saying that the receivers, obviously the receivers also are benefited to having good quarterbacks. Not denying that either. I'm just saying we have to give more considerations to receivers, who ultimately are the reasons why the quarterbacks are as good as they are. Because I think anyone would agree with me. Quarterbacks can only be as good as the receivers allow them to be. Because we've seen.
While I don't totally agree, credit to your point. It's a more pass heavy league now than it was even 5 years ago. So
Exactly.
all due credit there. Receivers deserve more credit than they've had in the past.
And like we were just talking about, I brought up the question: should we start to question Trevor Lawrence? And you're like, no. He doesn't have the receivers. That was kind of like your immediate reaction, and I think that's completely validated. Now, getting into who I picked for this award, I decided to give some love
I wonder who it could be.
I decided to give my love to a receiver for this award because, fun fact, a wide receiver has never in the entire history of the NFL won the MVP award, which I thought was pretty interesting. So that's why for this segment, I chose to give my 2021 NFL MVP award to none other than wide receiver for the Los Angeles Rams, Cooper Kupp, who, if you guys have not been following, I mean, my God, the year that this guy is having is honestly ridiculous. Looking at the stats, first of all, 138 catches, 1,829 yards, 15 touchdowns. He has 28 catches of 20 or plus yards, 8 catches of 40 or plus yards. All of those stats, Parker, by the way, are first in all receivers. Yes. So there's no.
And I did double check it. Yes, everything is completely correct.
So there's no disputing. Also, those stats were taken, I think, before his game yesterday. So I'm not sure if they're completely accurate.
Nope, they are accurate to right now.
Okay, because I got those stats from the NFL website late last night. So I was trying to wait as late as possible so that the NFL could update their stats. So I was wondering if those were correct. So apparently they are. Yep. He's also the number one receiver according to PFF, for people who put PFF into their who use PFA to support their hot takes. He was added to their All Pro team as well. Fun fact,
I agree with All Pro team and number one wide receiver. I just don't agree with PFF.
All right, so and also fun step. I think some people kind of question because people who are like in love with like the Julio Jones type of receiver who are kind of just like physically dominant. Because I think some people get confused. Some people kind of they label Cooper Kupp as someone who just runs extremely good routes and then just gets immediately taken down. That's actually not the case. He has 745 yards after the catch, it's something.
That one was out of date. That's on me.
Okay, so that one's out of date. So it's 806 yards after the catch. So it's even better than I thought. Point being here is Cooper Kupp, Parker, is everything you could possibly ask your receiver to be in the
Yep.
NFL right now. He's 6'2", so he can go up and get those contested jump balls. He's one of, if not the best route runners in the entire league, up there with like Stephon Diggs and D Hop and Devontae Adams. He's extremely dangerous after the catch. He also has one of the least. He's one of the he's a receiver with how many targets he's had this year. He has some of the fewest drops of any of the receivers in the entire league. So
Yeah.
there's no denying that he's been the number one receiver in the entire league this year. It's just people sometimes don't acknowledge that he has that much of an impact on the field. I'm right now arguing that he does, and so that is why I have put him as my 2021 NFL MVP. That was a mouthful. I'll let you go now.
Well, I'm not going to give mine yet. I'm just going to talk about yours a little bit. I like this pick a lot. I think it is tremendous offensive player of the year campaign. For reasons that I'm going to get into when we talk about my pick, I don't right now love any of the wide receivers in the league this year to win the MVP. I've seen some cases posthumously that Jerry Rice should have won a couple of his years because of how single-handedly he made that team great.
Oh, I will say
I don't love Kupp as a wide receiver MVP this year particularly because he has had a lot of not necessarily help. He gets himself open. He is a tremendous talent. Probably, I don't know if I'll call him the best wide receiver in the league because there's been a lot of injuries to really good players this year.
I mean, but I
he's
think
up there.
If you're taking in previous years, fine. But for this year,
he's the best receiver in the league this season. And
it's not even a question. He's been, I mean, obviously he has receivers to the left and right of him who obviously are drawing attention from other defenders and like Van Jefferson and now OBJ. But still, week in and week out, this guy produces every single week. He catches touchdowns galore. He's good after the catch. I mean, I really don't know if you're just one of those people who just can't accept a receiver being the MVP. Fine, but he's at least, like you said, the offensive player of the year, in my opinion.
That one, I honestly, unless my pick doesn't win MVP, if my pick doesn't win MVP, I will see him being offensive player of the year, and I would accept that gladly. Because as I'm about to reveal, neither of us are talking about Aaron Rodgers right now. Because he's A, the favorite right now, so that's less of an interesting segment, and B, I personally don't think I don't think he can be called the most valuable player because he personally and single-handedly cost his team a win this season. He caused them to lose a game of his own volition, which I think takes you out of that conversation sub-automatically, no matter how good a player you are. But to the contrary, to put a more positive spin on things, I'm now going to talk about a player who has single-handedly made his team one of the scariest in the league. I want to talk about a player who 9 out of 10 times, yes, a quarterback is more valuable than any other player on their team. The 10th time is Jonathan Taylor. An MVP, by definition, is a player that makes his team better, that can put a team on his back and win them games. So let's look at the rest of his team. The Colts, since Jonathan Taylor joined them last year, have lost one game ever when Taylor rushes for 100 or more yards. They've won 12 in the past 2 years. And they're 9-1 this year because he's had 10 100+ yard games. The first loss ever when he rushes for more than 100 yards was yesterday. And that was just a kind of a bad game by the rest of the team. That said, I will say that's the biggest knock against him is yesterday. This season, he's got 317 rushes for 1,734 yards, 5.5 yards per attempt, 13 20+ yard rushes. So he's got that big play capability, 18 rushing touchdowns. And then he is also a capable, not great, he's not a CMC receiver, whereas Christian McCaffrey in his prime was basically just a wide receiver who could power through somebody.
Yes, yeah.
But receiving wise, he has 47 targets for 37 receptions. So good, very good hands. He's got 342 receiving yards, giving him a 2,000-yard overall season right now, which is pretty solid. 9.2 average because I won't put too much into his average yards per passing completion because obviously you're not expecting a pass to a running back as much. He's got two catching touchdowns for 20 total touchdowns on the year. And then talking in terms of team value, He's got 115 first downs for his team. His team this year is at 314 touchdowns. Sorry, like the former debater in me is getting into this because I looked at the math of this. He has accounted for 36.6% of his team's first downs this year. That to me is insane.
Holy crap.
For comparison, Cooper Kupp has 84 total first downs. That leads all wide receivers. It's great. Like no one, and not for a second am I going to take that away from him. It's awesome. Cooper Kupp has accounted for more than a third of his team's first downs. And that 20 total touchdowns is almost 40% of the touchdowns that his team has had this season. Finally, just coming back to my point, just to close it out, for the point that an MVP should make his team better in every way. Carson Wentz, last year, he was about to get thrown to the curb. No one was, I would say no one really wanted to take a chance on him. Indy did because Frank Reich had faith in him after the near MVP year he had. And that's great. Honestly, I'm glad that he got a second chance because he's looked better this year. He's bounced back. But he was known to be kind of inconsistent after last year. He threw a lot of picks. He may have led the league in picks last year, or he was up there at least. He made some mistakes early in the year, but overall, he has thrown 6 interceptions this year. And for me, there are 2 reasons for that. 1, your offensive line is very good, keeps some pressure off of you. 2, your team is more terrified of the run than they are of the pass, so they cover the run more effectively and give you more open men. If Jonathan Taylor is that scary that he causes a defense to be so wary of the run that they give Carson Wentz more opportunities to make clean throws, that is value to me. So for all of those reasons, plus the fact that he is, not just to add on to it, his big play capability and the fact that he can peel off those massive runs like we saw in 2 weeks ago to ice the game against the Cowboys. It was Cowboys, right?
It was, it was... No. It was New England.
Oh, it was New England, and he peeled off that 80-yard rush to ice the game. Just to see that at the end to cap off just the value he adds to his team. I honestly like him as the MVP outright right now. I don't even need Aaron Rodgers in the conversation.
That's a strong take. I'll admit that. I mean, I chose a receiver, so it's also a strong.
Once
take.
again, I like your take. I just feel really strongly about Jonathan Taylor.
I honestly probably would have chosen Jonathan Taylor if they hadn't lost that game yesterday. I mean, that's how good he has been. And I think to more of our points, just like a couple minutes ago, like we said, Carson Wentz, like he still is not a great quarterback. No one's trying to argue that. He's been okay this year. Like he's
definitely much better.
He's been absolutely better than what he showed us in his final season at Philly. But the reason why Indianapolis is scary at all, and why Indianapolis is even at this point where they are right now at this point in the season, is based on the production of Jonathan Taylor. It's that simple. So
let's not forget they opened the season almost as poorly as the Dolphins did, and they soared back with better efficiency.
They lost their first 3 games,
and they shouldn't have lost to the Ravens.
No,
and so they should have one more win than they do right now.
But they don't. Point being, they have absolutely turned their season around after that bad start. The game yesterday wasn't good either way, but Jonathan Taylor, like you said, he also needs to be up there with offensive player of the year as well as MVP. Right. I would argue right along with Cooper Kupp. I believe Cooper Kupp just has a slightly better.
I think he'll probably get it regardless, but I want Jonathan Taylor to get votes in both categories.